Welcome to the KBA Vendor Viewpoint podcast, where we bring together Kentucky bankers and the industry's top vendor solutions to discuss important topics that affect your bank. Here's your host, KBA Director of Membership, Products, and Services, Selina Parrish.
With me today is Nicole Hood, co-founder and CEO of My First Nest Egg. Thank you so much, Nicole, for being with us today. Please tell our audience how My First Nest Egg is assisting KBA members when they're needing financial literacy in their communities.
Oh, well, thanks so much for having me, Selina. I'm really excited to be here, and we're really excited to be a support for the Kentucky Bankers Association and your banks. My First Nest Egg is a family-focused financial education platform designed specifically to help banks engage families, schools, and their communities through education. We partner with banks to provide turnkey youth and family financial education programs that are easy to launch, easy to sustain, and designed to really help build long-term relationships. Practically speaking, what we do is we provide monthly materials that help our banks with education materials, short form videos, digital tools, classroom ready activities, and family resources that we brand for them. So everything's white labeled, and then they can deploy immediately. What we consider ourselves is we are a financial education toolbox, and our banks become the boots on the ground to deliver it. So the more authentic the connection that the banks have with their community, the more authentic that financial education is able to be deployed and spread. And we really love that idea of a non-sales strategy for banks to connect with their communities.
That's wonderful. And that's exactly what I think our banks are looking for, because they're all wanting to be more connected in the communities, whatever avenue they can go. And I know it's so important for us to focus on borrowing and credit and interest. Can you focus on how My First Nest Egg helps with that?
I think when we started the company, what we really were committed to is ensuring that fewer people made really big financial mistakes in the future. And that really starts with giving kids a really strong financial education from the beginning. And when it comes to lending, borrowing, credit, it means introducing kids to the concepts and the financial vocabulary behind these words when they're young, so that before they get that first credit card, before they take on student loan debt, before they make these mistakes that can really impact their lives, they understand what they're getting themselves into. And it's really funny that you mentioned specifically borrowing and credit and lending, because April is Youth Financial Literacy Month. It's our Super Bowl. The Super Bowl just happened yesterday, but it's our Super Bowl is the whole month of April. And what we love to do is make whatever campaign or concept for the month really meaningful. And this year, this April, we're really focused on lending. And so we have an underwater sea adventure that we call Dive into Lending, an underwater loan adventure. And we take kids on they have all of these cool starts in like Loan Shark Lagoon and Credit Card Cove and all of these different things, balloon payment tsunami and variable rate volcano. And what we do is we introduce them to the financial vocabulary, we introduce them to the concepts, and we do it all through worksheets and animated little video series. So we have a loan shark explaining how a loan works and what to look out for. You know, we really want kids to not be lured in by those instant cash, no credit checks. We want them to understand why a bank is a safer place for them to go for their first loan. We want them to understand that, you know, reading the details, understanding it, and someone who's willing to present them in a clear and a fair manner is who you want to bank with, as opposed to someone who, you know, is going to put you in a situation where you may not be able to repay it later on. So we're so excited. And we know that education starts with the vocabulary, and it starts with taking the mystery away. And the best comments that we have gotten are from parents who are like, oh my goodness, I'm embarrassed to say I had no idea what APR meant before watching this video.
Wow.
I had
Okay.
no idea what a balloon payment was. And thank you, because I'm learning right alongside my kids. So we love to create financial education that feels non-judgmental by making it fun.
Yeah. It does sound like you've got a very creative way to get those students and the communities involved. And one of the thoughts I had was, what is the most beneficial way that banks should be supporting financial literacy in the communities that they serve? With everything that you're bringing to the table, are you seeing the banks take My First Nest Egg into various audiences, even if it's not in the classroom?
Oh, 100%. What
Okay.
we have learned is that the front line of a bank is perhaps the most important mouthpiece for financial education. And we are really committed when we do our onboarding to make sure that we get at least 15 minutes to explain to every teller, everyone who's front facing, what My First Nest Egg is, how important it is to share financial education, and what an easy tool it is for the front line to start conversations. And youth financial education is such a easy barrier for someone to say, "Hey, we have this great packet on lending this month. Would you or your family be interested in taking this home?" It's such an easy way. There's no sales in it. It's not, you're not asking them if they have credit issues. It's non-judgmental. Hey, it's youth month. It's financial education awareness month. Would you be interested in learning more? And that's it. And so we love the front line has got to be the start of all community outreach. From there, we say, walk into the library, walk into the YMCA. If you guys are connected, if your president is a Boy Scout, great. Make sure that every Boy Scout troop in the area gets some of these materials. What our goal is, again, we're the toolbox. We create the best financial education materials on the market. I'm 100% convinced they're fun, and we just get such great feedback. But we need you, our banks, to be the boots on the ground. And we always talk about the authenticity of the relationships. If you guys have a pairing with the YMCA, we know that it's going to be successful there, because we know that we trust in the materials, but we need you guys to be the boots on the ground to carry it out. And our goal is to take all the time away from you having to prepare, make anything. Everything's delivered to you in Canva. Everything's already branded for you. Everything has been gone through several layers of checks, and everything looks perfect. And so then you guys just get to have the time to take it out and use it and get that engagement that everyone's looking for.
Sounds like an easy way, with you taking care of everything and putting the bank's logo and branding on there. Sounds like a great tool. But as far as a natural entry point for banks, do you have suggestions on where, for when you specifically talk about Youth Month, when you're working with financial institutions, do you see a natural entry point where you would suggest our KBA members get started with My First Nest Egg?
Well, just as an entry point, April Youth Month is the ideal time, because
Perfect.
It's on the news. It's something that people are talking about already. It's something where then these banks just become additive to, oh, I've heard about, April being Youth Financial Literacy Month, but now someone's actually offering me something tangible to start my journey into financial education, into financial literacy. And that is such a nice place to just be like, hey, we're prepared. We have this stuff. What we really encourage our partners to do for Financial Literacy Month and Youth Month is to really lean into it and make it fun. So some of our partners have seen an 86% increase in their youth account openings during the month of April when they have embraced it. So in years past, we did a galactic adventure, a space adventure, or we did a pirate ship treasure map. And when those financial institutions maybe decorated the lobbies a little bit or gave the front line some little accessories or little handouts for the kids, people would walk in and they would feel the excitement. They would say, "Oh my goodness, what's happening? Why are these people wearing pirate hats? Or why is there alien goggles on my teller?" And it just was such a fun way and we've gotten so much great feedback from the front lines who were like, it was just such a relief to have something fun going on and Youth Month is the perfect time to do it. So we really love packaging Youth Month as the really special time to increase that engagement. You don't have to wait till back to school or the summertime. It's just kind of in this month where it's the focus it already is on financial education, and you guys get to be the bastions of financial education in the community.
Oh, yeah, it does sound like the perfect time for all of our banks to be active in their communities when April rolls around for Youth Month. And I know from talking with you, there are the 5 pillars of financial literacy that are emphasized throughout your program. Can you talk about those 5 pillars for us?
Sure. We have young people. And they are learning in very different ways than we have learned in the past because of social media, because of their phones. And TikTok, there's people actually call it, FinTalk, because so many people are getting their financial information from TikTok trends. And one thing that really struck us a couple of months back was where everyone was talking about a financial hack. And that was when Chase Bank was having that issue and people were depositing checks and the ATM was spitting them out, even though the checks, they were overdrawing their account, and they were calling it a financial hack. And we were like, no, this is fraud. This is not a financial hack. These people are going to get in trouble. And so we realized that while everyone's talking about fun things like crypto and things that kids, or here's a fast way to make cash, what they were lacking was the foundation of financial education. They had skipped over everything into, blockchain without understanding what savings, what budgeting, what some of these really basics were. And so while in our materials, we love to mix in and let kids know, hey, this is what crypto is. We want you to understand it because you're hearing it from everything. We also want you to understand the importance of having a savings account, an emergency savings. And we want you to understand why budgeting is important. And we want you to understand why putting 20% of what you earn here is important and why some of these basics. So I think it's really important for us to not reject the way that young kids are learning and not face and talk about the things that they're hearing about on TikTok or, through social media. It's really important for us to incorporate that in. But at the same time, how do we still come back to the basics? In the month of October, we heard so many of our partners say, scams and frauds have become a really big issue. So we said, you want to know what's really spooky during this Halloween season? It's scams and frauds. And we walked kids through, if you're presented with something like this, don't click on it. Talk to your parents. Never give out this kind of information. Don't put your address in. Things that, even some people in the older generations are struggling with. So scams and frauds are now a part of financial education, right? Because we have to protect what we have in an online banking system. So we really try to make sure that while there's current and relevancy, we really do still talk about the fundamentals and, let's understand what interest is. Let's understand what borrowing is. And yes, we can talk about, other things too, like all the different money apps. We can talk about that. So it's just about being open to talking about all things in the right way.
Certainly. And it does seem to be coming at everyone so fast right now with all the stable coin and all the digital currencies that are in conversations. I can only imagine what the classroom's like for all those students that are trying to figure it all out.
Mhm.
As far as banks accessing financial literacy and just all the target audiences that they have in the community, before they start a program with My First Nest Egg, do you have suggestions on what the banks need to know about the audiences that they're getting ready to maybe introduce financial literacy to?
Yeah, I think that we have to be very realistic about what youth financial education and youth programming is, because we are seeing people really fill with youth programs in all financial institutions. And let's face it, there is no 11-year-old kid who is looking up savings accounts online. I mean, they're looking at Mr. Beast, they're looking up 1,000 other things, but they're not looking up anything dealing with financial education. So the way that we've really tried to break through that barrier is by making sure that we talk to the gatekeepers, and those are parents and teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And the voice of My First Nest Egg, all the materials, yes, are to be used at the end of the day by kids. But the gatekeepers, the people who we really talk to first, are the parents and the teachers. So our voice is millennial voices. It is intended to be fun, light, non-judgmental. Hey, we know what you're going through right now. But maybe we can get your kids to pick up their laundry to get their allowance. Maybe we can just talk about how to get your kid not spending every last dime that they
Sure.
get. So it's really important for us that we're not just approaching this from here's a mascot and you guys get $5 in your account if you get straight A's or happy birthday. It's more about value to the family. And that's why we don't really even necessarily call ourselves youth financial education. We're family financial wellness, because we start by talking to the parents about how they can then talk to their kids about money in a really healthy way. And our big thing is you just got to start. It is not about having perfect financial education. It's about starting in one place where and then building from there. I mean, start at whatever level, and people are always excited to build upon whatever it is.
Yes. And that's where I think starting at that foundation with the parents and the classroom is so important. So is it easy for the banks, if they want to tailor the curriculum to different age groups? When you think of K through 12 students, do you all do that for the banks, or is that something that you leave it up to the banks to do all that?
Well, our tools are scaffolded. So as kids grow, the materials grow along with them. Younger kids focus on the vocabulary and the habits, and then the older kids learn about real world things. So when we started the company, my business partner and I had 7 kids, all under the age of 10.
Oh my goodness.
Now I have a whole bunch of teenagers in my house. And so understanding that they learn and they want materials in a different way is really important. So for the little kids, monthly materials that highlights magazine, like something fun each month coming their way, is what's really important to keeping them engaged and on top of things. But for teenagers, that is not the way their brains work.
Sure.
They only care about what the most important thing for them right now is. So if they're interested in a car, well, we have Your First Car. And it's an entire module that goes through every aspect of buying their first car, understanding what they need,
how fun.
What is auto loans, or your first paycheck, because we have a whole bunch of kids that go to fill out their paperwork when they get their first paycheck, and they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And they're like, what is this 401k thing? And we're like,
Sure.
It's so funny. There's just so, and how would they know? Because they've never been exposed to it. So we have a whole series where we call, we just about the money milestone right then. Like, what are they interested in? And then delivering all the information they need. So yes, we definitely, the progression builds confidence over time without overwhelming them at any of the steps.
Oh, that's perfect. And I think sometimes when the banks are doing all this, they're providing financial literacy. How have you found it to be effective to be able to see how it changes the financial behavior for the participants in the program? Do you have some way that you measure the effectiveness of how My First Nest Eggs program works?
I think for us, there's a lot of different ways we measure that.
Okay.
One of them is the fact that we have 100% renewal from all of our current financial institutions.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I think that really says a lot about the quality of the material that they know that they're getting. I spend some time with every one of our partners at the beginning of the year, just chatting about what to expect in the year ahead. And I've yet to have a situation where we don't hear one great story from someone who tells us a family walked in and said, "You just saved us by these materials really changed this about our family lifestyle," or "We love using the app every single day for our chores and allowance," or "We had this amazing story about one of our partners who did our entrepreneurship boot camp in an elementary school." And they did it over the course of 2 days. They stretched out one of our programs, and the boy who wound up winning the challenge borrowed shoes and a suit and everything else because he wanted to come in and do this really spectacular presentation. And that financial institution wound up giving him a scholarship because he really wanted to go to a certain high school. And It was all
That's wonderful.
Just that exposure, but he was so excited to come up with a business idea, and the financial vocabulary he learned, it was so exciting to him. I just loved hearing about a young kid taking it so seriously. And so these little stories for us is why we do what we do. And that's the measurable for us is all of our partners come back, and the stories from the families it's been really great. And some of them make us cry. So
well, how rewarding. And that's where just touching all those lives and all the wonderful things that you have available that our banks can use in their communities is wonderful. As far as thank you for sharing all that information. Do you have some final thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, I would say that when banks lead with education, especially around some of these foundational concepts, borrowing, credit, they get to become a trusted resource for the whole family. And I would say that April, Youth Financial Literacy Month is a fantastic starting point. But the real impact is sustained when there's authentic engagement that grows alongside the community. So we're just excited to be a toolbox for our partners, and we're excited to see what they do with what we provide them.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. I greatly appreciate your time today and for providing all that wonderful information for our audience. Additional information about My First Nest Egg is on KBA's website at kybanks.com. And until next time, this podcast is a wrap. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.